Do we have any?
Before we go in there, I'd like to speak about that.
Gotcha.
I've had some uneasy feelings. I don't want anybody to take it personal, take it wrong. I respect every member sitting on this board, every member. But I have questions about the legality of the way you were put on and Butch was put on. According to the old law, we were sworn in for 4 years. The only one that was sworn in was Steve, Terry, Lamar, me, and the two that are missing, Driggers and Bernie. And I got questions of whether this is illegal or not because of that. Only thing I saw on when the first bill came out that Timmy put out was the changing of the board makeup from 5 to 7. Nothing was put in there about the term limits. So I would think we'd have to revert back to the old bill to go by the same term limits. And if we don't, I'm always about right and doing what we're supposed to do. I don't want to see anybody's feelings hurt. But I think if we need to get legal advice on that from somebody, some board, as to whether or not this is a legal board. I don't feel like you can take a man that's been on 4 years and just pull him off like that, just like the housing authority. They got 5 years more than that. They got 5 years. We got 4 years. The city council got 4 years. I don't know about the local authority. Y'all have term limits, years?
In the previous, in the charter of the development authority, not in the new, not in 2012 legislation.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm worried about, and I feel like we ought to wait about putting anybody on any board position until we figure this thing out, whether it's right or wrong. We can go as we are right now, and then just wait and find out what the legal issue is about this. And that's the way I feel about it. And I'd just like to make a motion, we wait till we find out about the legality of this board before we go any.
I think we've got to be careful how we view this and realize what our mission is here as board members. The legality of what the Development Authority has done should, in my opinion, have no bearing on what we do moving forward. And I say that because our mission is to resource fund and provide leadership for this airport. I don't think we can do that, and I don't think that's in the best interest of the citizens if we don't elect a new chair, and then if we have a vacancy at the secretary or vice chair, if one of us or one of fill those. I think it's in the best interest of our county to do that, best interest of this airport, certainly. That said, I agree. I think there needs to be a legal opinion, at least so we have some standing in the future. I mean, we welcomed Butch and Phil last meeting, and we still do that today. But I think that it's important that we move forward with the airport's business and not be so concerned with what happened in the past with the development. We have, as you know, we have serious issues out here. What I think you're advocating may tie us up in legal opinions for months. Meanwhile, we have.
Well, my point is, I'm just tired of all this bickering between boards. It's a free-range service. The authority board against this board, and this board against that board. I think each authority should run their own business and let the others stay out of it. We shouldn't go to the development authority, tell them what to do. They shouldn't come here and tell us what to do. We shouldn't tell the county what to do. They shouldn't tell us what to do. We should be set on our own means right here in this building. And that's why I'm just tired of all this bickering. I mean, it's like we're getting talked. Every authority in town's getting talked about in town. We look like we're a bunch of idiots going back and forth at each other's throats all the time. And that's just what I feel. I just want to get this cleared. That's all I want to do, put it on the table and clear it up.
I apologize, I didn't hear it. You asked me to help you with parliamentary stuff, and that's all I was trying to do.
Yeah, just don't throw rocks at me.
No, sir. No, sir.
All right, Mr. Greer, now is yours.
Well, everybody, welcome. I'm glad you could be here tonight. Good to see so many people. We're a little shy of our last meeting. Last meeting, I think we were about 2 deep on the wall, so I guess there wasn't enough fireworks last meeting to encourage you to come back. So we're glad to have you. The first thing I wanted to do is there's something I think needs to be said and get out in the open. I honestly think that the way the past board members have been, authority board members have been treated is pretty poor. I think we've done several individuals community disservice over the last several years, and failing in so much as recognizing their service to our community. We have Jerry Bland, Jim Green, Charles Williams, Representative Pruitt, Terry Coleman, Gene Dennis, all former board members who really built this facility from the ground up virtually. And you know more so than I do. I still learn my history from Dodge County reading the Confederate signs out there close to my church where you guys all lived it. So I'm still learning, but I don't think we can, we should not be treating past board members the way we've treated them in the past, and we owe them a debt of gratitude for service. That includes Jack Burnham and Eddie Driggers, H. Peacock, Mr. Graham, Terry Coleman as well, all those who have served this community and done such a good job. We've got to be careful how we treat folks when they leave the service to the community, or else you won't be able to recruit others to serve their community if we continue down the same path. So I would just ask that we kind of take this moment to say, look, it takes a great deal of effort to serve your community. And those of you who have been served and not been funded or paid for it, you know what I'm talking about. Last night, I'll give you a good example. Last night I had a DVD of some minutes of one of these meetings, and it took me literally 4 hours to sit there with headphones and transcribe what took place. And I realized just how much it takes to actually serve and do it right, and to check things and make sure you're working for your community and trying to move forward. And I honestly think that we have a chance here to build a bridge and start working with the other authority and with the county and with the city. And I ran for city council, and I got my tail walloped. But that doesn't mean that I don't like the individual who walloped me. It means I respect him because he beat me by so many votes. And I just think that we have an opportunity here to make things come together for Dodge County. We are sitting, in my opinion, on a gold mine with this airport facility. Built on the backs of so many people I mentioned, and many others who probably I don't even know their names yet. And I think we have got to be focused on moving forward, building industry in here, providing leadership, purpose, and direction, motivation so Jeff can do his job. And in 5 to 6 years, 7 years time from who knows what we could see out here. We could realize potential tenfold for our families, for our children, so they don't have to go to Atlanta, Warner Robins, et cetera, to find jobs. They can stay right here and make a good salary. And as reluctant as I am to sit here and be the chair of this thing, because I know what's at stake. And quite frankly, I'm not so sure I'm prepared to take on the challenge. And I hope I am, and I'll turn to God and see if I am or not. I can only tell you that I'll do the best I can for all of you and serve you with integrity and vigor as much as I've done anywhere. And ask for each of the board members as well the community support. Because without your support, we get nowhere, guys. We will get absolutely nowhere. And I'm starting to fall in love with this county, and I want to stay here. And I hope you guys can see where I'm coming from as an outsider looking in. This has great potential. With that said, I'm going to get off my soapbox because we're very fortunate. Next time, closing the Riverland sale. Obviously, this was quite an issue over the last couple of months. In my opinion, we brought to a fairly lucrative disposition with the sale of this thing. John and I went up and closed on the loan. What did we finally, was it 130 something thousand? What was the color?
120 something thousand.
That's what we picked up from the attorney, so they sitting under a $5,000.
Had a $5,000 retainer on it. I don't remember the exact numbers on it.
So, you know,
We banked all that all in the bank. It
Total?
was hundreds.
that was 131. Okay, $131,086.
What was that total you needed?
Say that again. Who has it? Who has it?
We banked $5,000 and 126, $630.
Okay, so $5,000 deposit, and we deposited the same day we closed. And the total check we received in making the closing?
126, 80, 30, I'm thinking about.
Thank you, ma'am.
I don't know, I'm just looking at on the deposit slip, $126,608.30.
Okay, so that was it. 126,000. You said $608
30 cents.
and 30 cents. Okay. So that's how much we made off the sale of the land. Just so everybody knows that was the way we did the process, we had a hidden reserve process on it. If memory serves me, the price per acre that Mr. Walthall bid was above 3 of our reserve settings, just below 2, and then off by several thousand on 2 others.
Yeah.
And what we did with that, so everybody knows, we had a blind bid process, we threw out the high, threw out the low, and then we kept that reserve until we opened up the one and only bid we had for Mr. Walthall. And then at the same time, he presented a contract, we executed a contract with him, and closed within 14 days. So that's where we stand. And then I wanted to, that was deposited the same day in our account CB&T, and it will be drawn upon to pay off a fuel bill if the board so votes tonight, and then these other items we just discussed. None of that funds are targeted to go to any attorneys. Just I want to state that publicly. And then I'll get to reading our attorney contract so everybody understands where we stand there. But I want everybody to know that we did close the Riverland sale. Mr. Walthall was the high bidder and the only bidder, and the process was very smooth. So I'm hoping that I know the county had some reservations about it. I think that the authority acted in the best interest of the county's interest and gave them the option of first refusal. They decided not to exercise that option at this point in time, and I'm completely satisfied, and I hope the community is as well. So I think we made a good profit. Mr. Walthall was happy with that small plan. I don't know why. I guess when you have that kind of money, you can buy anything. So we're glad there's people out there like it, because we needed to sell it. So, and as Mr. Drigger stated in the past several times, we're not in the Riverland business, we're in the airport business, so it worked out well for us.
I want to put a motion on the table
Okay.
to nominate Bill Bearden as our member appointee and Dennis Gibbons as our citizen appointee.
I've got a motion from Mr. Kirkland, a second from Mr. Niblett. Motion being to put Mr. Bill Bearden on as our authority member appointee and Mr. Dennis Gibbons as our citizen appointee. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
That was supposed to do anybody else who wants to.
As a point of information, you would have to leave your nominations open if there are any others, but
Okay, thank you for that correction, okay? So, we heard, I've got one motion, 2 names nominated. Are there any others?
I want to make a motion for Ms. Clement to be the authority, and I don't have any, or Dennis, who would you say on this?
Dennis Gibbons.
I don't have any problem with Dennis Gibbons.
Okay, so I've got a motion from Mr. Sly to appoint John Clements as our member appointment, and Dennis Gibbons, once again, as our citizen appointment. Do I have a second to that motion?
Mr. Chairman, is
you have to finish one motion first when you have a motion on the floor. If it's voted down about the first 2, then it would be appropriate to make a different motion. And it may be more appropriate, once you deal with the motion you have on the floor, to do it one at a time, but you have to deal with the motion you have pending first. The motion you have pending was Phil Beard and Dennis Gibbons.
Right, okay. So that's our pending motion. Is there any further discussion about that motion? Okay, I'd like to see a show of hands. Who's in favor of that motion? Okay, so I show Kirkley and Niblett in favor. All opposed, show of hands. Opposed, well, I'm not opposed. Opposed are Lamar Marshall, Mr. Sly, Clemens.
Yes. I don't think I can do it. Oh, yeah, I can.
I'd like to take a revote on that.
Okay, once again, all in favor of that motion to place Phil Beard and Dennis Giddens on as our representatives, appointees, show of hands, all in favor. So I've got 3, Mr. Beard, Mr. Niblett, and Mr. Kirkley are in favor. All those opposed? Okay, so we got a tie. That means all eyes are on me. Okay, I'm going to vote vote against that, and then I'm gonna caveat with the reason why. Both of those two individuals are tremendous. This is nothing against either two individuals. But having been on this authority now for 9 months and knowing what's at stake here, I would personally like to see someone with an understanding of what's out here, possibly a pilot of some sort, someone who has a sense of exactly what's going on here, to bring that perspective to the Development Authority. And that's the reason why I'm rendering a no vote. And so that did not pass. So then the next motion we had on the table was motion made by Mr. Sly, seconded by, it was
Wasn't
seconded.
seconded yet.
It was, okay, there's a motion on the table made by Mr. Sly to nominate Mr. John Clements as the appointed member and Mr. Dennis Giddens as the citizen member. That's the motion we're working with right now. So I'm waiting on a second. Okay, I have a second by Lamar Marshall. Any further discussion about that motion? All right, all in favor of that motion? By show of hands? Okay, I've got Mr. Lamar Marshall in favor, Mr. Sly, and Mr. Clements. All in favor. All opposed? By show of hands, please. Okay, I show Mr. Kirkland, Mr. Beard, and Mr. Nibber. Okay, once again, welcome, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I'm going to vote in favor of that motion. And I will say this. And I want to be careful how I say this. I know that a motion to put John Clements on the Development Authority will not be viewed favorably by many in this room. And I think if we don't move past that, we're dead in the water. And I would ask the indulgence of the Development Authority and those members who would be opposed to Mr. Clements being on there to embrace the fact that he has a lot of knowledge in aviation. And I think his heart, from what I've seen for 9 months, in terms of this airport, not talking politics, in terms of this airport and the growth of this airport, has been top notch. And I think he will do a tremendous job. We can always vote him off. We can always vote him off if it turns out that he doesn't perform to the expectations of the Development Authority or ourselves. And so with that, once again, I'm going to render my motion in favor of placing John Clements on as our authority member and Mr. Dennis Giddens, who I know quite well, as our citizen member. And so that motion is carried. There are several hearing princes, attorney, GPS lease, airport consultant, which we heard from. Board of Aviation said, I'd like to cover the attorney, because I know that's on everybody's mind. I'm going to read what I have in front of me, and I'll gladly provide copies to anybody who would like one. This is the contract with the attorney for contingent fee from our attorneys from Langstaff Law. And the purpose of this is I wanted to, I told everybody at the last meeting, I wanted on the agenda, I wanted out in the open exactly how much the authority is paid for their attorney and how much we may owe and how our contract is arranged, what the terms of our contract are. And so I'm going to highlight some of the areas. Yeah, if you have a copy of this, in the third paragraph, it's like the second sentence says, the total fees for said hourly legal services already incurred in this matter, not including expenses, totals $25,375. That's how much we have currently paid this law firm in terms of litigation charges. This has nothing to do with the attorney fees we paid for the injunction hearing. Then I will direct your attention to the second page, which is not numbered. The second page, third paragraph down. I'm going to read this verbatim into the minutes, because I think it's important when we move forward. If the client dismisses the attorney at any time, for any reason, the client, meaning us as the airport authority, must give written notice to the attorney, and the client is responsible for payment of unpaid expenses and services rendered through the date of the receipt of such notice. Said payment will be based upon the greater of the following. 1, the attorney's time devoted to the case at an hourly rate of $450 an hour, or the applicable percentage of fee due the attorney under the terms of this agreement for any offers which have been made by any adversary or collateral party. So what that means is, in layman's terms, we paid a lump sum total of $25,375, and we are on a contingent basis. Meaning if it goes forward to litigation, and the airport authority is successful in its lawsuit, then we will owe no attorney fees. By this contract, if it goes forward and the airport authority is not successful, we owe no attorney fees. If we vote as a board to stop the litigation at any time, we will be charged $450 an hour from the time that our $25,375 ended. I do not have anywhere near a ballpark figure. I would tell you that there's a figure floated of $150,000 by a former board member. I can't tell you if that's pie in the sky or not. I would just tell you that the facts are what I'm reading here in the letter, and I have absolutely zero idea, because I've had no communication with our attorney because I just became chair today. So I owe everybody here a better clarification of how much that may be, because if in fact we do come to a position where we would like to make a determination on whether this lawsuit continues or not, the community needs to understand that we may face a substantial bill to our attorney as the airport authority, which could bankrupt us. And so I just want to make sure that everybody understands the playing field that we're operating under before we make any rushed judgments. I thought it was important. Because I know there's a lot of people who thought we'd sold the Riverland. People have asked me, we sold the Riverland because you're going to pay the attorney. The answer to that is absolutely not. Riverland sells in the general fund, and I expect we will probably have that thing exhausted or closely there too by the end of this meeting. So are there any comments from the other members in terms of where we stand with our attorney? Everybody's on the same sheet. Phil, I'm sure you appreciate this because I just found this out myself. This is not something that we had any reason to put on the table, but I wanted to put it on the table because I think it's important for the community, because the community has a lot to lose in this, along with several names I mentioned when I first became the chair. So that's where we stand with that. Are there any questions?
I'm not on the board, but I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
I looked at the minutes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
I looked at the minutes when that contract was supposedly approved, and the minutes do not indicate that the contract was ever published to any member of the board. You were on the board at the time, Mr. Greer. Did the contract published to you before it was adopted?
I was, sir. You said I was on the board?
I believe you were.
I don't think he was.
I don't think I was, sir.
Is anybody here, Mr. Clements, you were on the board, was that contract published to the board?
Yes.
Because the minutes do not reflect that.
We'll get it passed out to us, and we'll approve it.
Okay.
We owe you, if you have a question about that, we owe you an answer.
To probably answer your question, I've been at all the board meetings and I have not seen it, but I think it was probably done, and I don't know that because I wasn't in there, and I don't go to executive session, but I would think it was probably in one of the executive sessions.
But the problem is, executive session, you cannot approve something in executive session. The minutes do not reflect that it was published publicly in the open meeting. If it was not, there is a question of whether it's a valid contract, and that is why I have that question.
We need to do some research on that.
I can't remember the date on it, but it was voted on unanimous.
Voted on, but not published in the meeting. There is a difference. I've looked at the minutes. It doesn't say it's published in the minutes at all. And the date on the contract, what is the date on the contract, sir, Mr. Greer?
The date, there is no date indicated, however, the date signed on the third page, 25th day of March, when it was signed by our attorney 15th day of March 2012, signed by Mr. Eddie Greaves, chairman at the time.
And what is the date of the minutes?
I don't know. I don't know, I said,
Research is all.
we owe you an answer on that to find out exactly, and may actually have a meeting to amend those minutes if that's the case. Or move forward.
I don't think we would amend the minutes.
No, I don't think this board has the authority to amend those minutes, and I'm not suggesting that.
That was just a comment that was made just then.
Right.
No,
That does not need to happen.
no. What happened, happened. Whatever it is, it happened.
Right. Well,
If the
we need to
contract
make
is
it
valid,
right.
it's valid. If it's not
We decided
valid,
to do that.
I mean, I'm asking those of y'all who were there, was the contract actually published? I've asked Mr. Clements, he thinks but doesn't remember for sure. Who else was there that's still on this board? Mr. Sly, were you there?
Was that when the suit was put in?
No, sir, that's when this contract was signed.
15 March 2012.
2012, yeah. I can't remember when I was put in here.
Look back in,
Well, I mean, you have a clear memory of the contract actually being
we
presented.
had a contract that was made before, so it's okay, this is what it's going to, how much it costs us per hour, if we, buy out of it, how much it costs us, if we go on and percentage they get, if we were found in favor of it, if it didn't, we wouldn't pay anything.
But the contract was physically at the meeting and reviewed by each member. Were you here, sir?
Prior to my.
Okay. Mr. Sly, were you here?
I think I was here too, yes.
And you remember reviewing? Okay. That's what it is, that's what it is.
Was that? Or was, did we have the legislation passed by then, where we had everybody here, March 25th? Had living appointments at that time?
Would that change?
Well, they had to be here to see it, it was an executive session.
I may be the only one that was there, I don't know. But I remember seeing it, and it was from bank staff, and they explained it to us,
That's when the time the attorney came to
I
it?
think it's when Tony came in.
Yeah, I'll be there too.
So what, it sounds like we need some better clarification.
I was here.
We need to do some research on exactly
They
what's
didn't
there.
vote to come out of executive session, and they didn't present a vote for contract.
So your recollection was what, Ms. Fay?
I remember telling them that they didn't vote to come out of executive session. And there was, I remember the attorney being here. And it had to have been signed during the executive.
No, we came out, but that's not right, Sam. We did come out of executive session, we came back in here. We come right back in the.
You came back in, you came back
I'm not gonna
in.
argue with you. I know what we did. We did come out of executive session.
You didn't vote to come out, Bobby, is what I'm
Yes, we did.
saying.
We voted on it.
Bobby, it was
Hey, I'm not
tabled.
gonna argue, Miss Fay. Just be quiet. I ain't gonna argue with you.
Well, you don't tell me to be quiet, but
You
it
know what
happened
you're
that
talking
way.
about.
I do know what I'm talking about. And it was taped, Bobby. Listen to the tape.
Yes, ma'am.
You said the date of the contract was March 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
25th.
Legislative session was not over to the end of March, but not into April last year. So the legislation was not signed. Bobby, you could not have been here.
I was here when the lawyer came in from and talked about the suit. Yes, I was.
You were
We're
not a
not-
member when that contract was signed.
Well, we don't wanna try it here.
Well, maybe I wouldn't have started that, but I was on the order to go with the litigation. That's what I'm trying to get across right there.
And so, we need some resolution on this, so we need to sit down and review the minutes and find out exactly. Regardless, this is the contract we're currently under. And the purpose of this was to make sure everybody was aware that this is a contract we're